Good evening, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to 30 at 8:30. I'm just gonna wait for a few of you to join so we can see who has hi, hello. Aw. Hi, Alana, how are you? Hi, Jacqueline. Hello. Hi, Uncle Mike, good to see you. Hey, Sean, how are you? I see someone that said hello. Hi, Zagoda. Thank you so much for joining us. Hey, Kristen. Thank you all for joining. I appreciate it. Hi there. Hi, how are you? Good to see. Hi, Jenna, how are you? Good to see you all. Just gonna say hi for a few more minutes. It's also very comforting to know that you all are here. I feel like I'm getting a warm hug, so thank you so much. Hi, how are you? I think that's Bryn that just joined. Hi, Bryn, how are you? Hi, Wendy. Thank you so much for today, my dear. Thank you. Good to see everybody. Welcome back, Sydney. Hi, Janelle. Is that Howie? Hi, Howie. I think that's Howie and Upala. How are you? Good to see you all. Thank you so very much for joining. Thank you. So I don't want to keep you, but I wanted to just certainly say welcome to 30 at 8:30. A series, if you will, that is sponsored by the Center for Research and Innovation for Black Survivors of Homicide Victims. I am the founder and director of the CRIB, and I want to give a shout out to my team who really just brainstormed with me as I struggled, as many of us are, with the reality that we are experiencing today, but with the reality that we all have been experiencing for quite some time. Quite frankly, I was nervous and scared about coming on live, not sure if folks wanted to hear what I had to say, if what I might share with you might resonate. And I reached out to my dear friend, Dr. Wendy Shaya, who's here joining us. And she asked me the question, what are you afraid of? And I quite candidly told her, I'm afraid that this time yet again, we're not gonna get it right. That this time, so many individuals who haven't endured structural inequality, oppression, discrimination, that we are now seeing bearing the weight of in COVID-19, that their voices will continue to not be lifted up into this conversation. And so I went back to my team and I basically shared with them the conversations that I was having with some of our community partners who talked about the fact that while we are in our homes, protecting ourselves, protecting our loved ones from harm, that there are so many that will still continue to suffer. There will so many that will continue to experience challenges with substance abuse, challenges with intimate partner violence, challenged by the fact that they can't afford to stay home because they still need to go and work and can't. What do we do? What do we do about supporting those individuals? We know that there are so many caring individuals who are working on the front lines, but those individuals who feel as though they don't have a voice, most of them coming from racialized communities, Black and brown and Indigenous communities, we need to uplift their voices into the conversation. Now, what I'm saying may be new to some of you and old news to others. We've seen in Twitter, we've seen on Facebook, we've seen on the New York Times and Washington Post, the Toronto Star about the disproportionate representation of Blacks who are impacted by COVID-19. And what was very interesting to me is that individuals started to talk about the fact that they thought that COVID-19 was the huge equalizer. Well, I say to that comment, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all women and men are not treated as equals. And so out of this understanding, out of this place of wanting to hold the space for those individuals, I wanted to create, and with my team, who was very, very supportive of creating this, 30 at 8:30. Let's hold the space for 30 minutes every Wednesday at 8:30 so we can uplift the voices of so many who've been voiceless. So we can have fundamental, candid conversations about individuals who are incarcerated, who don't have the luxury of social distancing, who we have chosen to allow certain individuals who are older, who may have been sentenced to different sort of crimes and misdemeanors, and we're really releasing them. But what happens when they're released into the communities? Do they have jobs? Do they have housing? These are the conversations that I would like to uplift into the dialogue, not just for the purpose of sharing stats with you or percentages or going through the day-to-day news stream feed that you already have experienced, but to really, again, have conversations with some of our community partners, researchers, local community agencies, and other experts for the purpose of elevating knowledge, wisdom, expertise, sharing not only from our head space, but our heart space, for the purpose of carving a pathway forward. I think about Patricia, a grandmother who is now taking care of her 3 grandchildren, and she was a housekeeper. And because of social distancing and social isolation, she can't afford to work. She originally hails from the Dominican Republic and is also sending money back to her family. Those are the kinds of individuals, those are the stories that I want to uplift through 30 at 8:30. I also want to talk about the importance of the fact that we are now seeing that some states, some individuals, particularly in the US, Detroit, New Orleans, are beginning to collect data by race, being able to make sure that the individuals count the individuals to make sure that they count, if you will. We're beginning to see that. But why aren't we mandating that all states, all countries collect data by race so that we can understand the magnitude of the impact on so many who are disenfranchised? These are the kinds of conversations we must uplift into the conversation. Quite honestly, you may hear me trembling in my voice because I've been here before. You've been here before, where we've sounded the alarm relevant to the disproportionate representation of young Black men who are gunned down in the streets. We've been here before when we've talked about the disproportionate reality of Black and Latino youth who experienced the homicide of a loved one. We've been here before when we've talked about Indigenous communities who still do not have access to clean drinking water. Where do they go to wash their hands to protect themselves from further harm? These, my friends, these are the kinds of candid conversations we must not rest. We must uplift into the conversation. And so with 30 at 8:30, for the next couple of weeks, the next 6 weeks, we will be having featured guests to talk about issues of structural violence, structural inequity, inequitable access to housing, employment, adequate health care, which, if I may be quite honest, was disproportionately impacting Black and Brown communities before COVID-19, is impacting them during COVID-19, and gosh, I hope will not continue to impact them after. I want to talk about the healthcare system and referring back to the individuals who we know are in their homes struggling with issues of substance abuse, intimate partner violence, and potential suicide. Are folks coming to help? Because we know that many of our workers have been called to the front lines to deal with COVID-19. But where do we go to support those individuals? I want to talk about social distancing as a privilege. I want to talk about social distancing as a privilege and how it both is often, how it impacts vulnerable communities in terms of their ability to social distance if they don't have the luxury of doing that. If families are basically sheltering in place in small apartments, 4 or 5 at a time, they do not have the luxury, the privilege to social distance. And so what happens to them? I also want to uplift into the conversation the fact that in predominantly racialized communities, a way to cope with stress is we reach out, we commune with one another. What happens to our mental health, our spiritual health and well-being when we're not allowed to commune with one another? These are conversations that are so important and so invaluable. And so I promise not to take up too much of your time. Tonight was supposed to serve as a bit of a teaser, a bit of a draw you in, a bit of a hug, quite honestly, that I needed, and I'm sure many of you did. But I want to continue this very, very important series of conversations as we journey through this together. And while the impact of COVID-19 on vulnerable populations does not serve as an equalizer, it is a reminder that we are inherently dependent upon each other for our survival. If you don't know, now you know, to quote Biggie Smalls. And so, again, not taking up too much of your time, I'm going to stop and talk, hopefully take questions. Feel free to communicate with me. But I welcome you and invite you to continue to watch the series 30 at 8:30 every Wednesday night. Thank you for your time. And thank you for logging in. Hi, cousin. I'm glad you felt the hug. I'm giving it right back to you. I'm giving it right back to you all. Yes, we need to empower one another. Absolutely. I'm going to do the best that I can. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Yes. For the next 6 weeks, be in touch. Our guest next week is actually the Dean of the School of Social Work at the Factor and Winnetosh School of Social Work at University of Toronto, Dexter Voisin, and he'll be talking about structural violence. And then after, I'm going to wait and give you guys teasers every week. So stay tuned, but I hope you will tune in. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks. I miss you guys too in Baltimore. Love you. And I'll see you next week. All right. Everyone, until that time, I want you to take care and keep well.